Today on Kaiju Wars, we have the 1954 Godzilla going against the Skullcrawler, the big one, Skull Devil, Ramarak. You know, the big Skullcrawler. Anyways, this fight was suggested by Camry Staples, so shout out to him. Let's get into it. So, the 1954 Godzilla was the original Godzilla. That's pretty obvious. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The Skullcrawler, on the other hand, is one of the biggest Skullcrawlers that we ever known. But there's a leaked Skullcrawler toy out saying it might appear in the movie. Godzilla vs. Kong movie, which is coming out later this, week, I think. Or maybe next week, I don't fucking know. So yeah, let's get into the statistics. So, 1954 Godzilla was 164 feet tall, weighs 22,000 tons, and is around 328 feet long. The Skullcrawler, on the other hand, is 94 feet tall, weighs 100 tons, and is around 194 feet long. So we can see that Godzilla is a hell lot bigger. But let's get into their Let's get into their weapons or abilities. Godzilla's weapons usually includes his jaws. He can claw, he can stomp, he can tail slap. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Since this is the first variation of Godzilla, he's pretty basic for his kind. He can just breathe his atomic breath, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, he can absorb radiation. Okay, now the Skullcrawler. The Skullcrawler's weapons is that they can burrow underground. They can tail slap, and they can grab with their tail and tongue too. Their tongue is like a chameleon. It can just grab out and wrap around its opponents. It can also scratch with their toe claws. It can bite. They can climb. They're very expert climbers. Yeah. So no extraordinary powers, like they don't have fucking laser eyes. Okay. How would they defeat each other? Well, Skullcrawlers aren't that hard to beat if you're a giant fire-breathing dragon lizard T-Rex. So Godzilla just has to shoot him with its atomic breath a couple of times and then there. Done. The Skullcrawler, on the other hand, needs to, bite him in the jugular a couple of times. And yeah, Godzilla has a pretty fast healing factor. So yeah, let's get into the fight already. This fight takes place in the underground palace in the 2019 Godzilla movie. You know, the Godzilla resting place. Yeah, this area. Yep, that place. Fight. The 1954 Godzilla. Well, let's just call him Gojira. So Gojira is just swimming along, okay? He's going back to his underwater palace. And he gets up to the surface area where, the place where you can actually walk. So he gets to the area where he can actually walk and goes back to rest. But then he hears a rustling. He looks around. And he walks back. He knows he's the only one here, so he's still keeping his guard up. And then out of nowhere, he gets tackled by a giant lizard. Godzilla roars in confusion as this giant skull lizard is literally roaring in his face, and spit is all over his nose and eyes. Gojira grabs the Skullcrawler by the neck and chokeslams him into one of the buildings, and then tail slaps him away. Now there's lava around this place, and Godzilla can tolerate that lava, so that's pretty safe thing. But Skullcrawlers can be hurt with fucking bullets, so there's that, I guess, and fire. So this place isn't very adequate for a Skullcrawler. Anyways, the Skullcrawler roars loudly at Godzilla, but Godzilla roars back. As Godzilla walks over and grabs him by the face, but the Skullcrawler bites his fingers and rips him off. But Godzilla grows his fingers back and punches the Skullcrawler in the face like Mike Tyson. The Skullcrawler goes crashing through some buildings, but then flicks some buildings into the King of the Monsters' face. The Skullcrawler then jumps up like a velociraptor and pins down the giant radioactive lizard, and starts biting into his neck. Gojira is roaring in pain as this giant skull demon is just ripping into him. But then Godzilla charges up his atomic breath, and then when the Skullcrawler realizes that his plates are like glowing into a blue color, he knows he's fucked. And then that's when Gojira shoots his atomic breath. The Skullcrawler is literally point blank range at Godzilla's atomic breath. Yes, the Skullcrawler's dead. He's critically injured. He's still barely alive. The Skullcrawler then gets thrown by the King of the Monster, who who gets back up and picks up the almost dead Skullcrawler. The Skullcrawler's just like twitching, kind of. He's still alive, kind. Yeah, his brain is half cooked, but still. Godzilla then just rips his head off and just throws it down to the ground before just grabbing the Skullcrawler and just eating it. He's just dragging the dead Skullcrawler along. Verdict. In a fight between Godzilla and a Skullcrawler, if we're using the 1954 Godzilla just wins most of the time. Godzilla just has more better weapons. This wasn't even a fair fight to begin with, but this was a requested battle, so fuck it, why not? Anyways, who do you think would have won this fight? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye. Yeah.